I called to order the Hingham Historic Districts Commission meeting for December 14th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternative means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting are being recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. And there we go. So we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, we have two agenda items.
Yes, we do. The third one is coming probably in January or February.
Okay. So we have two, one is a continuance and one is a new. So looking at the notes, Eric, you weren't at the last meeting. Did you watch the recording and catch up or not?
I did.
Sorry, you did or did not?
I did.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, good.
It's Carol. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, I don't have the numbers for tonight's meeting.
Okay, great. So for that then, I'm going to appoint for both agenda items, Eric. Oh, Carol's not here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Carol will be here shortly. So we will have her here.
Okay, so seems what I'm going to do to keep this going, because I don't want to take up time and extend this, I'm going to appoint Eric, Josh, myself, Catherine, Carol, and Justin, sorry, for the 20 Middle Street item. And as long as Carol makes it for the other agenda item, I'm going to appoint Eric, Carol, myself, Catherine, and Justin for 151 Levitt Street.
Got it.
Any conflicts of interest that bar anybody from participating, as I said?
No.
Great. All right, so with that, the first agenda item is 20 Middle Street. This is a continuance from the last meeting. Apologies, or from 2 meetings ago. Apologies, there was a mistake on having them on the last agenda in November. But for modifications of an existing driveway and deck and pool fencing, and we made a site visit. So I think Mr. Papich is with us, and we can allow him to. I assume Sean, you want to lead it, and then the Sullivans are with us as well.
You bet. Sean Papich, Landscape Architecture, 222 North Street, Hingham, Massachusetts, for the record. Says my internet connection is a little unstable, so let me know if you can't hear me. Mike and Jillian Sullivan are also here, the homeowners. They're on the squares there. And so I'll hit the stuff that we were going to look at and we did look at in the site visit. Essentially.
One second, Sean. Can you allow us to share screen, Andrea?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, sure.
And then do you want to share or do you want me to, Sean?
If you'd like to, you can. I can share also, whatever.
I'll let you drive.
Okay.
All right, hold on just a minute. Let me get this.
Go ahead while we wait for that, Sean. Go ahead.
Okay.
Give it a whirl.
Okay. Said it's disabled participant screen sharing right now. Let me try again. Yeah, it says it's still disabled.
Oh, let me try again.
There you go.
Hold on. How's that?
Yeah, let's see how we do. It looks like it should work. We know
Okay.
you see it.
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. Good. So the areas that we focused on from our first meeting, we had discussed some of the work, the renovation of the deck and back, the proposed pool work, and that didn't seem to be any issues with that.
I'm going to share for
issues
you.
that we were really dealing with more. It appeared going into. Is it not showing up?
No, you're
No.
just now very choppy and talking, so I'm gonna just share for you, make it easier.
Let me stop the share then. You go ahead. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, great.
That's better.
Thank you.
We can hear you.
Good. So areas that were of the most major concern as we understood it anyway, were the driveway changes, which we actually modified since our first meeting. We cut it way back. If you look at the driveway area, you can also see the picture on the what we call existing conditions view A in the photo there, where the driveway cuts behind the hedge. On the plan view, left-hand side of the plan, you can see kind of a shaded area that we outlined with some red. It's a wedge shape, essentially. We've got this bottleneck that you guys saw when we were out there on site that we have difficulty with. So the intent now is to just realign the wall that's there now, remove it and reconstruct it parallel to the house, as well as remove some shrubs that are existing, you can see in the photos there, and then add a wedge shaped piece of driveway, which would just be the matching asphalt, and essentially make that more functional. Thank you for highlighting that. Make that more functional. We'd also reference the cobble granite slab apron right at the edge of the sidewalk, also of this little wedge shape. So it's essentially it'll look very similar to what it is today, just pushed out a little way so we can break up the bottleneck that we have. It's just a real challenging driveway, and I think you saw that when we were there. The other area that was of more concern was addressing the fence location on the right-hand side of the house. You see a picture up in the upper right there, existing conditions view B, essentially. There was questions about where we place the fence, and we think that placing it just behind the corner of the house, as we've shown on this plan, between the house and the window that is there, makes the most sense because of locations of air conditioners. Essentially, it's also a location where the existing hedge is right now, and where the previous hedge was. You can see that in the photos, and you can also see it in a couple of sheets later. Essentially, style-wise, I'm not sure what you felt about it, but you can look at a couple. Yeah, style-wise, we showed the board fence with the picket topper for the fence itself, and then we showed for the gate, we were intending to use the picket gate. So the gate itself will be more picket, like the fence panels you see in the picture on the right. That was our intention, a double gate for access. And then on the next couple pages later, and we've got some imagery that shows on the upper left-hand corner is the hedge in winter. It's about 7 to 8 feet tall. Of course, we're proposing a 6-foot fence. It has to be 6 feet for the pool enclosure. And so you see the fence, picket topper, picket gate.
John, you're gonna have to repeat
Back to
that.
the board.
And Sean, maybe consider turning your video off just to save the.
Yeah, we lost that last part.
Yeah,
Yeah, we lost it.
How about this? Can you hear me right now?
Yeah,
that's better. Yes.
Oh, great. Hey, I didn't know you were such a tech guy. Thank you. So the board fence with picket topper we're illustrating in the right, and we also had in those other photos on the upper right with a picket fence. And not too dissimilar from the adjacent property at the Monteros, which was the Blair's initial fence. You see in that lower right corner, and also similar to what is going to be done and was approved at the Amendola property at 16. So the intention was to drop it just behind the corner of the house, kind of in place of where that previously existing hedge was. And it'll be shorter than that. For pool enclosure, we have to be 6 feet tall per the town regulations. The colors we had referenced, some range of grays. Mike and Jill will zero in on that, but it's in that same range of grays that we had talked about already in the previous hearing and what you've seen on the adjacent property. But that should cover the areas that we were really seem to be concerned with, unless there are other areas you want to talk about. That should cover the areas that we were concerned with from the last hearing, and then going into the site visit. And if Mike and Jill want to add anything, they certainly can.
I don't have anything. I think you about covered it.
I think if you scroll down, maybe, Daniel, the colors,
Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
We kept those range from light gray to medium and darkish gray, not black. I think these were the three colors that were approved on the adjacent property. I don't know that Mike and Jillian have a favorite yet. I think they want to have a range from which to work with. Zero in on that from there.
great. Thank you. So to the committee members, just a reminder, I don't want to pick a color. These are the ones that they've proposed. So if there's one that is inappropriate, or if multiple, whatever, if there's an inappropriate color that in your opinion, share it that way as opposed to which one you want. I'd rather approve 1, 2, or 3 of them as a commission, similar to what we did last time. So with that, and then also Carol, I know you were late jumping on. Obviously we'll take your comments. I appointed somebody else to fill in for you this one because I didn't know how long it would take you to get on. So you
I
are
couldn't find the phone number.
yeah, sorry, you're a non-voting member for this one, but you're a voting member on the next one.
But can I still have opinions?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Because I thought we had talked about the full picket fence for this area, as opposed to the solid base with a picket on top. I think it was Catherine that had brought that up, but are the owners open to that? Is that a consideration? Just keeping it less fortress-like and more open?
It's up to you.
It sounded like it was a second choice, I think, if not to speak for them, but I think when we were discussing it after the last hearing, they really would prefer to have the one that we have shown. If there's huge amount of, disagreement with it, it would be, I'm sure they would consider some other options, like the picket, but
Well, they'll
Since
probably
we've
have
got-
shrubs in front of it anyway, won't they, Sean?
they will.
Maybe the solid
but
base
you
at the
can-
bottom doesn't matter if they're gonna put shrubs in anyway. And
Agreed. Yeah, so that's the intent, is to have something similar to what you see there. I mean, not
Yeah.
might be a
Yeah.
single, something like that, but
I think it's fair to say it's a preference, but I think if it's for the solid, we have like a dog, 2 little dogs, that can become a thing.
Sure.
It's not a huge thing. If it becomes a sticking point for the group, then we're happy to entertain.
Carol, did you have any other comments?
I'd love to eliminate the darkest of the 3 grays. I think either the other 2 would blend in nicely and sort of disappear a little more than the dark one. Just my thought.
I would agree with that as well.
Justin, seems you chimed in. Do you have any other comments?
I agree with Carol, just the one eliminating the darkest gray. And I think I could go either way on the bottom part of the fence, as long as it's not solid all the way up.
Right.
Just gonna go through the list here. Catherine, do you have any comments you wish to share?
I have a couple comments. I think the biggest one is that I still have a problem with starting the fence at the corner of the house. I see there's some margin room there. If we were to push the deck a little bit towards the back of the yard, it gave 6 feet. It's just to give it more reveal on the house. I feel like that neighborhood is becoming really fortressy, and
Fenced in, yeah.
it's not welcoming. And it's a concern. I know the neighbors have it, but every house we have to take into consideration as its own unique property. So I just feel like if we could just push the bulkhead underneath the bay window, or change something so that there's a little less deck and a little more lawn in front. I understand you're trying to optimize your backyard for your family. So that was one thing. And then the fence and the neighbor's house has a little bit more of a picket style on top. It seems to be a little more picket and a little less solid fence, but still would give you the solid fence below. So I didn't know if that was a possibility. A little bit more welcoming. It's a little more friendly, neighborhood friendly. And then if the owl gray does not match the house, I think it is not appropriate. If it matches the house, it's appropriate. But I think having an extra odd color is not adjacent to the home is not appropriate. And those are my comments. Oh, and one last comment. The shrubbery on the left of the driveway, I just want to make sure that doesn't encroach and come forward of the corner of the home. Let's try and keep the shrubbery and everything secondary to the facade of the house.
Right now it's shown in line.
It is. I just want to make sure that's taken note of, I guess.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you. Eric, do you have any comments?
I'm not feeling as strong as some other commission members on some of these elements. Like I think the driveway approach, I appreciate the original one was much further down. Maybe it was a double curve cut, so that's no issues there. I agree with Carol, probably the charcoal gray is probably the one that I feel like is maybe a little too dark, but comfortable. The other two, the fence on the line, like I certainly sympathize with trying to get back as far, but again, certainly understand what they're trying to do with their yard there, and I don't have a strong opinion on it. I wouldn't stand one way or the other on it. The fencing, they have the open grate. It looks at the gate, it appears, just to confirm. So like I'm perfectly fine with doing the solid on the other side, since you have the open on the gate. That's really what you're gonna see. The solid will conceal those AC units a little bit better in case like the shrubbery doesn't survive. So I honestly maybe for the solid because of those AC unit locations. So that's my comment.
Good. Thanks, Eric.
Mhm.
Josh?
I don't have a color that I think is more or less appropriate. I just appreciate that y'all have worked with us on this. I shared the concern that the fence is very close to the corner of the house. But I also understand, the AC unit and the bulkhead. So this, is this, if it can't go between the bulkhead and the gate and the deck, then that might be the best that we can hope for. But nothing that would hold this up for me.
Okay. Marianne?
I just have a comment on colors. I always feel that the lighter the color, the more it blends into the landscape, thereby contributing to deminimizing the fortress-like effect that you would get either from a solid fence or even from a picket fence that has pickets rather close together. So I would really opine. I think lighter colors in general for fences are a preference for keeping in the historical landscape. But that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Marion. To go back to a comment, just to get clarity on it, Catherine, I don't know if we can push the bulkhead back to this bay window, because I don't know if it would work. To
I was
have,
actually thinking to have the fence right up against the deck and then the AC units in front of it with a lower fence. I just feel like we're trying to accommodate these AC units, but we're really, honestly, we're trying to preserve that aspect of the house. And if we had a little lower fence in front, you'd still see most of the, most of the house and less of the fence. I just feel like the trend in town is fencing right up and all around with huge bushes, and It's not, it's not historically appropriate for one thing. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, so I heard what you said and looked at it too. The only comment I had is looking at it, given, and it doesn't show it well in this photo, but maybe it shows it on the plan better, is that, you know, the front of the house, the original front of the house is really here, with a step back here, which is, I believe, this front piece here, and then this little pokes out here a little bit, so I think if this was brought out to this front face or even this front face, it's really proud and fortressy, but I can live with it being back here on the non-original part of the house, bump back. I wish there was a way to push it back a little bit more, but I don't know if, you know, sliding these AC units back another foot or two and squeezing them in there, it is really, I think you're gonna end up with pretty much the similar visual from off the road, so. And then I'm fine with any of these colors, so.
And
I think there's a preference from the commission from what I hear. Generally the charcoal gray is too dark, but the Chelsea gray and the gray owl with an asterisk maybe on it, you know, based on mock-ups, but I kind of think that both of them work generally, and we can leave that up to the owner. Sean, did you have a question?
sorry about that. If you want to scroll down to that third sheet, it might show a little more of the front of the house. I'm trying
Oh
to.
yeah, there we go.
You see it, well, you see it a little bit better there, or next.
Yeah.
If you go left, you see a little more of the house, and so that corner where we're coming off of is kind of secondary. It's the addition to the house, and it's back. There's a corner, there's a front corner, then there's the sunroom, and then this is actually back even further. So it's as much as, you know,
Almost at the halfway point of the old house.
it's quite a ways back actually already. And again, the hedge that's there is now is even that was there now already was already over 7 feet tall, I would say. And so it was at that same exact location. So that's the only reason why we think that it makes sense. It'll be a smaller structure, it'll be lower, and it'll be open on the top. And whether or not that's a little bit of a taller picket, like you're maybe referencing, Catherine, from the other house, that the top portion is, say, 2 feet instead of 1.5 feet, then something more like what the Blairs had originally on that other house at 24. Maybe that's the idea of it. So that's where we felt like it was still in the right location, you know, appropriate location. And again, screening utilities is always a good thing. That's all I was going to say about that.
I feel like proportion and height wise, these are very similar. I think one of the
Fair.
things that's different though is the spacing of the pickets left to right on the top are so much denser in this rendering than
Yeah.
this photo. And
Yeah.
and even, you know, so
Yep.
I think I think there's a point to be made there, which is if you're gonna do this, I think trying to mimic this picket spacing and make it more open at the top, I think is beneficial.
Agreed. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, are there,
And did we have a cut sheet on the fence?
all we have is this.
Is that? Okay.
That and between drawings and photos, I can certainly share one or give one to Andrea. They we'll still have to go with somewhere just under a 4-inch spacing between those pickets.
I was gonna ask that question, is that why the difference is that may not be a pool fence?
It was that previous fence there was approved many years ago, and there is a pool in the back, but it was there from the Blairs. It must be, goodness, it's pretty old. It was there before we even did our piece with the Blairs a long time ago. So it might.
I didn't realize that the topper has to be 4-inch diameter.
Probably still have to be 4-inch, just under 4-inch spacing, right? So 30 seconds. But that can be done, and I think that will open it up more than the picture in front of you. Yeah, that will help.
All right. Are there any abutters that wish to comment? Okay. So I'm hearing from the commission that generally the fence location is amenable. Colors are preferred in the lighter Chelsea gray owl range. Sounds like there's a little bit more less or a little less interest in the Kendall charcoal gray. The driveway, I don't hear any real feedback on otherwise, other than making sure the plans match what gets constructed. So I'd be willing to entertain a motion if somebody would like to make one.
Okay, I'll make that motion. I'd like to make a motion. I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for 20 Middle Street, located in the Hingham Center Local Historic District, per the plans dated 14 November 2023. Work to include expansion of the existing asphalt driveway, expansion to include widening of the driveway from a single to a double width drive in line with the existing walkway, and removal of existing stone wall, and installation of a painted vertical board fence with a picket topper as depicted in the November 14 drawings submitted.
Was it A, picture A?
And it was it A?
It's just called out as vertical board fence with picket topper. There's not a.
I think the important thing is picket topper. With approximately 4-inch spacing of the pickets.
Did we even discuss that stone wall? I don't even remember talking about it. Sorry.
I just have one more comment about the gate on the fence. Justin.
Yeah, and the gate comment, help
The
me.
gate would be a vertical cedar picket fence.
Vertical cedar picket on the gate. That's correct.
Two
Not
panels
solid
wide.
gates. 2 panels wide. Thank you.
Catherine, I hear you. 1 second. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Catherine.
Did we discuss the stone wall?
We
At
did
all?
during the previous meeting because it was going to be removed and extended. That's still the plan. But we did not discuss it at this meeting.
Okay, and so it's not a historic wall, it's just a modern retaining wall of some kind, or a wall. We didn't look at it.
I don't have a good photo of it in these photos, but it was discussed previously and I remember looking at it on site. I would say at some point, non-original to the building, it was installed. I don't know, Sean, do you have a sense of? Or
That was probably done at least 2 owners ago. What is about 18 to 20 inches tall, maybe 21 or 22, and it's a fieldstone wall. Looks like it's probably a rubble and mortar core. It really is. It extends there, and really all we would do is extend it because there's some grade change coming down in from the adjacent property. It's almost as if you put it on a swivel and turned it. If it was that easy to just turn it. And
yeah, so this is the part that's being demoed, Catherine, and then it's being extended from that corner down.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Is the majority of it is staying.
oh yeah, yeah. The rest is staying. Yeah, it's a great change. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from commission members?
Thanks.
Okay. Eric, how do you vote?
Aye.
Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Justin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Josh, I put you on this, right? How do you vote?
Aye.
And it's an aye for me. So Andrew will give you a certificate of appropriateness. Thanks for working with us. We appreciate it coming back. And again, apologies that we didn't have you on November.
It's a problem. It's a problem. But thank you and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you guys very much. Have a
Thank
happy,
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
take care.
7 o'clock, so we're only 10 minutes behind. So the next agenda item, just for the record, is going to be myself, Justin, Eric, Catherine, and Carol as the voting members. Still will take comment from the alternate members, Mary Ann and Josh, who are with us tonight. So this is for 151 Levitt Street, for a recently completed stone wall along the front of the property. Returns into the wall returns to the driveway, light fixtures, directional lighting. And so we're going to review a certificate of appropriateness, which has been subsequently filed today. And so let's see. So this is a little bit of a deviation. This isn't something that we've dealt with a lot. It's the first time with me being chair that we've had to discuss an application for something that was done already done and completed. So I wanted to take a minute just to go through a few things. And so one of them is, I think it's important. I don't know if we always do this as a commission, and I think with the commission changing over the years, I wanted to just, with the context of this being a stone wall, just remind ourselves where this historic district came from. And it was an extension in 2008 from town meeting. The impetus of the extension was from residents wishing to be included in the historic district to extend it. It was also a goal that was outlined in the master plan. And one of the benefits of extending the district was to preserve the streetscape and the historical texture of the neighborhood. And that comes from the town meeting from 2008. Additionally, I want to note that Levitt Street at this location running southeasterly from the bridge over Weir River, Jones Street, Turkey Hill, Pope's Lane are designated scenic roads by special town meeting vote in 1981. What exactly that means is that changes to the street in the right of way go through planning board, trying to maintain that scenic view. This is not in the right of way, but it did think it's pertinent information that, this is a scenic route. It was extended to preserve the streetscape and the texture of the neighborhood. So with that, that's the district in the history. And I think it's important to understand that. In terms of where our guidance comes from, we have guidelines, mostly derived from the Secretary of Interior Standards. And I just wanted to go through and remind committee members, because we don't do this a lot. We don't have a lot of new construction. We have a lot of existing buildings, renovations, additions, that the recommendations in our charge for new construction in historic districts, which the house itself is new construction from, Sean, it's 2008?
16.
Sorry, way off. 2016. So this falls under this category that we don't deal with always. And so compatibility is one of the big things that gets hit in the guidelines, where the new construction should be visually compatible with the historic character of the district in terms of scale, massing, materials, and design elements. But it may incorporate contemporary architectural styles as long as it doesn't visually detract from the dominant historical context. Respecting for the surroundings, new construction should respond to the district and the landscape and streetscapes, and ensure that new structures complement rather than clash with the environment. Differentiation is new construction should, however, be distinguishable from historic structures to avoid confusion about original and what's not. And that can be achieved through architectural design, materials, and visual cues. Specifically in our guidelines, fencing and boundary walls are listed as being essential aspects for setting the property and the streetscape, and should be compatible with the property and material proportion and style. Stone walls are appropriate for specific period structures. They should be made of local stone, constructed in a style of the building. And they should not act as visual barriers to obscure the building or residence. And then light fixtures are subject to our review. They should be appropriate with the design, scale, and character. Integration of lighting into stone walls became more common in the latter part of the 20th century in the 70s, and more widespread in the 80s and 90s, incorporating lights into stone walls. So I just wanted to go through those points, just as good reminders for all of us with construction and, what the guidelines say. What I'd like to do for tonight's meeting is allow Mr. Farrell to walk through his submission package. We have some as-built and some cut sheets. And then, hard to do this, but I do want to try and have commission members solicit feedback as if this was not built, as if this was new construction, right? Or a new application in front of us. That's, you know, how I think is fair to review this for both the applicant and our commission. And we can see where that conversation goes, and then we can have a conversation with Mr. Farrell about next steps and where we should go with this. So that's what I'd like to do. I can share the screen if that's helpful, Mr. Farrell.
Yeah, it's fine.
You want me to do photos or pull up the as-built? What would you like me to start with?
The photos, please.
Okay. Great. Give me 1 second. Okay. So this is the first photo I have.
So a few months ago, when I decided to build a wall, I called the building department and I asked them, did they need a permit? They said no. So I proceeded building the stone wall on my property. I got it surveyed, and I built a fieldstone wall because that's the same stone I used in the chimney when I went through the historic department in 2016. So, and then I built a stone wall anyway, and then I used low voltage lights. I think I have 1.5 watts underneath the caps of the piers, and on the lawn, on the trees of the lawn, there are 4 watts on the trees going down the driveway. I used all the material that you would use in a historical neighborhood, and I just thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. So what you see is what you get today. I mean, I don't know what to do after this.
So this is an overview. So was the asphalt
When the city paved the street, they left the binder down because they knew my driveway wasn't finished.
okay.
And I only had binder on my driveway, and I didn't want all asphalt going the whole way down to my house because it doesn't look, so there was too much asphalt. And that's why I did cobblestones, and I did the pavers the same color as the fieldstone, the brown pavers. So, and then I pulled the permit with the city, and I finished my apron in front.
Okay. Just some other photos of it. And so the intent is to remove the concrete pillars
Yes.
that were there for the board fence.
I still don't have the highway approval yet to remove those. I'm still waiting from Randy to give me the okay to remove those.
Is that DPW?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just pull up here. I'll pull up just so we can see it. You gave us the lighting,
The specs and the lights, yes.
Yep, soft white, 1.5 watts, low voltage, 12 volts.
Yeah, those are the ones that are underneath the caps of the pier. I didn't want to put any lights on the top of the pier because it was just too bright. So I went underneath the caps to shine down on the walls.
And I believe there is a hood.
There's a guard for them, yes.
Yeah. It's not exactly this one, but it's similar to this, right?
Yes. It wasn't on that picture. That's all.
And that is, they're located right there, right?
Right there, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, can you see it in that picture?
And then is this uplighting is?
I planted some trees going down the driveway, and I used the lights on the trees shining on the tree. The lights are not shining towards the road, they're only shining towards the trees.
Yeah. So you've uplit the tree lights, but none of that uplighting's on the wall.
There's no uplighting on the wall whatsoever.
Okay. That's just the light. Okay, and then here's the as-built drawing. So we have the wall set back on your property, these arches that come in, driveway down here.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, anything else that you want to share that you think is pertinent?
Sorry, it's
Nope, that's fine. So I'm going to go through and solicit feedback from the commission members first. I do see a couple of people from the public. We'll do that and then we can kind of go from there. So Eric, you're first on my screen. Do you have any questions or comments or feedback?
It's just a hard one. Obviously, we don't want situations like this, so we certainly don't want to put anyone in a hard position. No, I think in general, like the fieldstone component feels appropriate to me. The piers, if we were doing this from start, that might be something I would have given some feedback on, necessarily not having I don't know, they feel a little out of character for the neighborhood as far as sort of like the country road aesthetic of it. But yeah, I'm still digesting it, to be 100% honest.
Okay. Josh, I see you next. So do you have any feedback?
So I agree with Eric. I think this is not the fence that we would have ended on if we had started this process in the normal way that we do things. That said, I think from my perspective, there are some things that mitigate the historical adverse historical impact. I think the distance from some of the from other historic homes in the neighborhood is something that I think speaks in favor of this fence being allowed. There are I looked at the historic maps I've given by the property. There are no historic. This fence is at the end of the property is one property away from the end of the historic district, and the house that is further to the boundary line is not a historic home. The fact that the home is new construction, I think, makes this fence somewhat more appropriate, and then the use of materials. The fieldstone, I think the wall itself, the materials are fine. The height of the wall, I agree with Eric. The piers, I think, are not necessarily in keeping with historic feel, and also not necessarily in keeping with the scale of this kind of oddly shaped lot itself. But I think those things speak in favor of the wall. I think there are some things that speak against it. Like I said, the height, the lighting is completely non ahistorical, and so I think that's what I would say about my feelings on the wall.
Thank you. Justin, I see you up next.
I would agree with my fellow commissioners on this is not the wall we'd land on if we were at the beginning of this process. I have a much stronger feeling of inappropriateness in the lighting installed in the wall. I think the material choice is good. It looks like a beautifully executed wall. If I were able to modify anything on the wall from the current situation we have, if there was a chance of lowering the columns that are nearest the road, I think you could really mitigate the sense of it feeling not quite right for the neighborhood. But the lighting, I have a very, it feels like you've really brought what is a beautifully done stone wall and making it look much more modern. And if you took the lighting out of it, gosh, I think I could squint and say, I could see that wall aging with grace.
Great, thanks, Justin. Catherine?
Yeah, this is a challenging one. We hate to see this happen. Across the street is an example of a really early colonial wall. It's just a rustic, simple rock pile. So the contrast between this wall and the one across the street is just really glaring. I agree with what Justin and Eric and Josh all said. I think the wall feels really formal, and maybe there's ways we can mitigate that by taking off the caps and making it feel more country, reducing the pier's height, and removing the lighting. I do have a question. I wonder, these bollards in the street, I find it like, if I was putting up this gorgeous wall, I never would want these big bollards there. So I'm shocked that the homeowner didn't get permission to have those removed before he did the wall.
Well,
And
that's
the process of
what I-
trying to get
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's what I commented on earlier. I think they were told, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, it was indicated that they can go, but you just need to get a final sign off.
They told me that I have to put my wall up. Randy said you can't remove them without having something else instead. And I've been talking to Randy for the last year and a half or 2 years, because I'm a licensed contractor in Hingham as well. And he said, Sean, don't remove them until you have something else to stop anyone falling in on my property.
I see, that makes more sense. Thank you.
Okay.
So I guess those are my opinions and feelings on it.
Carol, do you have comments?
Yes, I think the stonework itself is quite handsome, and I don't have any trouble with that. But I do think that the piers give it a more modern effect, like a grand estate or something. I think the lighting shouldn't be at all. I think if you'd come to us earlier on and you'd said we're going to plant lights around, I think we would have all agreed that's, there was no electricity down there when a lot of these old houses were built, and it says this is modern. But the one thing that catches my eye is the two curved sections. It takes it from a plain stone wall, which could have been there for almost any amount of time, and turns it into the entrance to a country club or a housing development or something that says, here's the front of our property. I just wish there were a way of taking those out and just continuing it in a straight line or something. And then we have not seen the uplighting on the trees, or at least it wasn't dark when we were there. And I wonder if that isn't part of what the neighbors are talking about, that to light up trees gives a very different effect. Quite handsome in my opinion, but it's certainly not historic looking, since there wouldn't have been electricity. So those are my main thoughts. I basically agree with what everybody else has said.
Marianne?
I basically agree with what everyone has said, but I think it's unfortunate for the neighbors and for people driving down the street, which it really is more of a country road than a lot of other thoroughfares in Hingham. And this makes it look like you're entering into a development and you're walling off the country aspect of the road, which in the way Dan introduced it, the guidelines for a historic district, which is the district not composed of individual houses. I think if the wall was taken down and made in some way softened construction wise, it would be okay. But this is just a glaring travesty of a historic district, of a construction that should never, I think, should never be in a historic district.
That's great. Sean, my comments echo in line similar to most of the commission members. I think that the wall, if we were doing this application new and these were renderings, I think there would be some modifications. I think lighting definitely would have been a sticking point. I think that the height and the dominance of the piers probably would have been scaled back a little bit. Potentially the curves. I do see that the curves give it a definite feel, especially with the curve and then the going up. So those are my thoughts. I do want to hear from, we have two residents. I don't know if either one of them wish to speak. We'd hear from them, and then I kind of want to do a summary and then kind of talk about next steps. So are there any citizens that wish to speak?
Can I speak, Sam, or not?
Let's hear from if
Okay,
we have
okay.
any, and then I'll circle back to the board.
Thank you.
Mr. Overly, do you wish to comment?
Yes, if I could, it's popping up as Claire, but my name is Steve Overly, and we've been
That's
resident.
your address also?
Pardon?
We just need your address for the record also.
152 Levitt Street, directly across from the entrance to 151. And our home was built in 1936. It's not an antique, but it's a Royal Barry Wills home, and we've been pretty proud of it. We've lived there since 1982. And our objection, one, is the lighting that's facing our house. It's on and it's staying on till 11 or 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock at the latest, but some nights it's off at 11, a few nights it's off at 10. And it's like looking across the street, and I realize it's the holidays, but even before that, before Thanksgiving, it's like looking at Disneyland across the street. And that's what we're object to. The stone is fine. I think the height is a little bit too high. Everything had to be bigger. I sent in some photos of it at night, and I gave them to Andrea. I don't know what happened to them. Andrea Young, she has those photos at night. And also I took some photos of the entrance down to Crest Farm that was put in 1984, right after we moved here, and they started building the homes there. That wall there to the entrance is smaller than this wall, and it's going into an area with 25 or 30 homes. And I just think the size is a little bit too large. The wall itself, the main part of the wall, the height is fine. If we could do something with the lighting and the size of the entrance there would satisfy us.
May I just mention to Mr. Overly's comment about the photos he sent? They were passed along to commission members after you had sent them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Overly. I appreciate it. Mr. Jones, I see that you're on. I don't know if you wish to speak.
No, but thank you for asking.
All right, thank you so much. Sean, a lot just thrown at you. So before you respond, what I'd like to do, but I'm happy to hear your responses tonight. I'd like to give you a chance to digest this information, hear the feedback, and we can continue the meeting. And maybe similar to our other meetings, you come back in a month and we say, you present to us, hey, I heard your feedback. This is how we can, you built the wall, you know it. You're a contractor. You can tell me I have thoughts, but I think you know better than most of us having built it. How can it maybe be modified and tweaked from the scale, the mass of it, that maybe we lessen it a little bit? I think the lighting component that you're hearing is easy feedback, but that's what I'd like to do. Normal, like how we would with a normal meeting. But happy to hear your thoughts on that and everything else.
Yeah, I was just going to say the piers next to the road, they're the same height as the white concrete posts is there right now. They're not higher than the concrete posts. If you can go back to those pictures, look at the concrete post is way higher for the wall part of it, and the pillars only a few inches. We're not talking about feet here. Some of them are the same height, which is 40. I think it's 42 inches. And the pier and the radius going in the gates, the shrubbery I put in there, they're going to grow up to at least 2 or 2.5 feet tall. You're not even going to see those walls by this time next year, because the bushes they're only freshly planted bushes. So you're not even going to see a lot of that wall next year.
I totally respect that. One thing I don't know if you may not remember this, probably came up when you did your the house, is We have to take into context no shrubbery, because if there's a drought and it dies, that's what there is. So when we look at this, we have to take it in, and I fully appreciate what you're saying, Sean, of
Yeah.
they're gonna grow, but that's pretty clear in our guidelines that that's how we're supposed to interpret this.
Right. And if you look at that picture behind my truck there, you can see the chimney. I mean, the chimney's 25, 30 feet up in the air. I mean, I didn't think I was doing anything. You know,
No,
I
I don't think we're saying that, Sean. I think,
Yeah.
you know, it's, and that's why I really want to kind of treat this of how can we end up at a good place? And, you know, these are kind of the feedback, give you the same process that a new applicant would get, right? The last meeting we had, our last agenda item, you know, they came in October, we gave them feedback about things, the driveway changed, we found a nice landing spot. So I'd like to follow that process if you're amenable to that.
Okay.
And we can have you on a continuance for the next meeting, but I think the feedback, and I do the same summary for new applicants. The feedback that I'm hearing from our commission is that material wise, good choice, stone's good. There is significant pushback on the lighting, specifically the stone. I think it would be beneficial for commission members if they haven't seen this at night to look at the uplighting. I don't know if that's actually in our jurisdiction. I'd have to confirm that with Andrea. Uplighting on trees, I don't know if that is. I want to say it's not, but we will double check that just to have clarification. And then in terms of the massing and the sizing, I think that if there's any way to kind of lessen it and just make it feel a little skinnier and smaller modification somehow, I don't want to ask you to tear this thing down and rebuild it. So I'd really like you to take that feedback and see what we can do to kind of find that middle ground.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just have two, one comment about, we have reviewed lighting in the past, because we want to make sure, that whether it's driveway lighting or it's part of the landscape lighting. And
Okay.
so we have reviewed that, and, we want to make sure that it is, unobtrusive, that it's dark sky compliant.
Okay.
So that it's focused in one area, that it's not, you know, being visually actually disruptive to others, neighbors visuals. Sorry. And then also, Mr. Overly, I just wanted to ask you, I wanted to verify your comment about the lights. Is the lighting has to do with what's on the stone wall, the piers, or is it you're talking about the lighting on the trees?
Not, well, I can see the lighting on the trees, but it's mostly the lighting on the front of the wall that's facing my house.
I see.
Can we just review the wattage on those light bulbs and
Yep, we have the cut sheets for that, so we can look at that.
But I don't think there should be any lights at all on the wall.
So so the wattage for the uplighting on the tree lights is 4 watts. It's a 60-degree beam spread. The color temperature is 3000 K. And so at the end of the day, what that means, I'll be honest, I know what those mean, and I still think you just need to go see it and understand it. It's a field thing. Those numbers tell us a lot, but at the end of the day, I think you have to see it. So I would suggest that commission members, if they haven't seen the uplighting at night,
At night, yeah.
And I think that's a better way to judge lighting as opposed to numbers on a cut sheet.
I'm more concerned with the pier
The
wattage?
pier is 1.5 watts. And again, I've seen it at night. I don't think it's excessively bright. It has the shield on it. It is a lower wattage, but it is not necessarily where I think we would have ended up, and I think that, you know, it's less done. And I think it's trying to maintain sensitivity to the whole historic streetscape and the scenic side of it. So, but I do suggest that members take a look at it and get a feel for it. So, if there are no other comments from commission members or the applicant, I would move that we continue this for our next meeting in January.
Dan, I did have two quick questions. One was, I think there are just something to keep in mind for everybody. I think there's different directions we can take on the lighting. We could say the lighting stays. We could say the lighting stays and it's dimmer. We could say some of the lighting stays and it's dimmer. We could say the lighting goes away completely. Or something I was going to propose was that there was a limited number of, you know, nights per month that the lighting could be used. So it's generally off. But if Mr. Farrell has friends over at the house, he could, you know, turn his lights on so everybody can, you know, find him. You know, something like that. So I think I'm not proposing any of those.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing those out there for consideration.
I do love that, Josh. That's a really tough one for us to put in. I don't want to start saying when people can and cannot turn lights on. I do like the outside the box thinking, especially with this, but I would be hesitant to make Andrea double check that it's getting turned on certain nights of the week. Or for it to have to get adjudicated if it's going too many. I do appreciate that, but I would put pause to that thought process.
I think too that would be something that is use is out of our jurisdiction, or you know, out of that would be a planning board thing, you know, for example. But not us, unfortunately. But we can talk about all the others, the Calvins, the, you know, everything else, that the direction of the lighting.
And my second question that I failed to ask earlier was, do we know what the age is of the city-owned fence that's being removed? You see that around town quite a bit. Those concrete posts, you know, with the wood spanners, whatever. I don't know what that's called in a fence context. It seems like a charming and historic way to provide some safety on some of these you know, old country roads. And so I was curious as to, you know, if we could find some information on when those were installed.
I'll ask.
To my eye, you know, they look, you know, WPA era. I know they're not that era. So
Yeah. And they are in a number of locations around town. I mean,
Right.
If you drive up North Street in particular, they're along the bank that approaches Beale Street and West Street. There's a big long line of them. So, but I will find out.
One last thing to add is there's a big mailbox too that we haven't really discussed that might also be quickly discussed for you. And
Do we review mailboxes? I don't know that. What's that?
Go ahead.
I haven't seen that anywhere, and we haven't to date. So I just wondered, do we review mailboxes in the past, Andrea?
Well, there are a
We have
couple
in
of
the
things.
past, yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. First of all, we know that the post office requires a certain type of mailbox. And then if your house is a distance from the street, you can't just put it on your house.
Right.
So we know that. And then the other aspect is, you know, basically that, you know, they are not considered permanent structures.
Okay.
So that means that that's not really part of our.
Okay, that's what I thought, is that if it's, I guess if you were building one into the fabric of the house or the envelope of the house somewhere, we'd review it, but I'm hesitant to start reviewing non-permanent structures. Okay. Any other feedback? Mr. Farrell, I summarized a little bit earlier, but do you have any questions or
No.
Okay.
Postpone it for another month and see what I can do, and maybe I can dim down the lights and keep the neighbors happy, and like a week ago when I was there on the road on a Saturday morning, when the morning I thought the meeting was, about 40 people come by running, and they all stopped and they all tell me they all love my wall and everything. They were going to actually hang out and wait to meet you guys, but I had the wrong dates. So, but I mean, there were so many people there that day, and then they said they love my wall. So I don't know what to do.
And what I'm trying to balance, to be completely honest, Mr. Farrell, is giving you the feedback that we would have if this was a new application with the fact that it's built. Because one thing we don't want to have happen is this to happen again. And with other applicants where we built it, sorry, this is what we have. We're kind of, you know, I mean, I want to give you some fairness in the situation. You asked some people some questions, and you know, it's a good lesson. But I also want to be fair to what our charge is and give you the feedback as we normally would. So I think this is a good balance, and we'll see what we can find out next month.
And so what that would mean, Sean, would be that you would present, if you choose to make some changes based on the feedback, then you would present that in sketches or, you know, however you want to do that, or altered pictures, just so that we can see what you plan, and then we can comment on that before you do any additional work.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming and working with us, Mr. Farrell. We, you know, if you don't, this whole district commission doesn't work. So
yeah, yep. I understand.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Our next agenda item.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, guys.
Good night, Patty.
Merry Christmas,
Andrea.
guys.
Thank you. Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
You
Now I'm
too.
going for a whiskey. I didn't
Tell
drink
them
in
more
I
do.
didn't drink in 5 months. I gotta go drinking tonight.
Sean,
Yes.
tell them more do.
I told him what to do.
Yeah.
Not at last, a bottle.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
So our
you.
next agenda item was 54 Middle Street. That's been continued to the next meeting.
Yes.
So on to, I don't have any items that we didn't anticipate in advance of the meeting. But going through and reading guidelines and things like that again, it got me doing some notes and putting together some stuff for our business meeting. So we can do that in the new year. I'll find a time with Andrea, and we'll do that post holidays. So I was able to gain some traction on that. We can get together in person and talk about various agenda items. So we'll get to that later. We do have meeting minutes from Robin. And
I'm sorry I sent them out so late. I'm just like,
But they're nice and clear, so they're easy to review.
They are, yeah.
Yes.
he does a great
and-
job.
And the ever smallest comment on punctuation on the listing,
Okay.
members present and alternate members present, seems like a couple extraneous commas.
Okay. So what,
Hard, almost not worth mentioning, but
but sounds like it might be. So
it seems just, you know, ending, for example, members present, I might say Carol Piles, comma, and Justin Aborn, period. Just,
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Got
and
it.
just so that if someone was looking at this, hey, you know, is this the complete list?
Yeah, or somebody missing. Yes, I
Somebody
agree with
missing,
you.
is somebody missing? And so I would also say Mary Ann Donaldson, and
Got it.
Blevin. So that kind of,
You know, I do. I
other
have to
than
say,
that, I'd even jump in to make a motion to
Yay.
move to approve the minutes of the Historic Districts Commission meeting on November 16, 2023.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
As amended, I suppose. With
Yes.
Is there a second? That was Carol.
Second, yeah.
And so any discussion? Hearing
Okay.
none. Carol, how do you vote?
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Mary Ann,
I,
Eric,
Aye, but since I don't have a chance, everyone's gonna jump off. I just want to thank you, Dan, how you handled that. I thought that was really well
No,
done. as
well
far as-
done.
very well done.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
thought about it for a long time. I'm not gonna lie. Justin,
Aye.
Mary Ann,
I,
and it's an aye for me. So the
And me,
oh, sorry, Catherine. I'm so sorry.
I'll stick my eye in there.
Can I,
Okay,
before
so
we adjourn, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman, I just mentioned the fact that, that I think I hope, if I didn't, let me know. I thought I sent you some information about Revolution 250 today. Did I send that out to you?
yes,
Okay, good, because those are the things, Revolution 250 is a pretty big deal in Massachusetts, and the town of Hingham has signed on, and we have
I'm
contributed.
sorry, you didn't. I got it from somebody else. I don't know what you were sent. Somebody else sent me something about it. I don't know what you sent me.
Oh, then maybe I thought I did, but I didn't, so I'll do it tomorrow. But
Okay.
anyway, it's the thing kicks off with the, you can watch live stream the Boston Tea Party at the Boston Tea Party Museum and other events. And so that really kicks off the whole Revolution 250. And it'll continue on for the next couple of years with various types of events. And so, yes, we are, the town of Hingham as a sponsor, as is the Historical Society. And so,
Are these
I'm-
reenactments, Andrea?
yes, there are reenactments. So it could be great fun, and there are opportunities to go see things too. Unfortunately, this wasn't sent out to me until maybe yesterday. So I'll get it off to you tonight. And so especially for kids, I think it's quite an opportunity, to be able to see some of this stuff.
Fun.
Yeah. So other than that, I just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to
Yeah,
everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Holidays.
So yeah, we'll see everybody in the new year. I don't have anything else. I don't think, oh, the only other thing I read, two things, Andrea. I really went deep dive in these guidelines and our rules, is technically, we're supposed to redo elections of our officers every fiscal year in July.
I know, we haven't been paying attention to that.
So this is a heads up, we'll probably do that, just so that we're abiding by our guidelines, I guess, and bylaws. The other thing I just wanted to clarify, I had sent Andrew an email. In the documents, it says that, our certificate, and I think this has been brought up and asked before. So I have in our documents, it says that our certificates of appropriateness are good for 6 months unless the project's starting, right? You can't just get a certificate and not act on it. You've got to start it within 6 months. You can get an extension for 6 months. Is that, you can keep extending every 6 months, Andrea?
That 2 years.
It's sometimes, yeah, sometimes people, I mean, look at, things keep people from starting, like finances and other things that happen, and where sometimes they change their minds. But I think the one thing we're always concerned about is whether or not the plans have changed. And it's more likely that they would if they were, if the ownership of the property changes hands. But in general, they're using plans that we've approved. I also besides looking at what's been submitted versus what we have on file. For a permit application is what I meant.
Yeah,
submitted
and
for-
I only bring that up because there's, I think it was Tracy actually right before you left asked, you know, we approve a new construction project or a significant addition renovation and it's done by somebody that's not the end user, right? And they're looking to do something and they haven't started. There's a property that comes to mind in town that we've approved a house, new construction, and I don't believe it's started. But it's marketed. I just wanted to make sure that we still have, you know, the authority over that to make sure it gets done right. It sounds like the mechanism is we can keep extending it, but the plans when the permit gets filed would be compared. I understand
Yes,
that.
yes, that is correct.
Andrea, I thought you had 2 years. Is it to complete it? No, that doesn't sound right. Something about 2 years, and then you have to come before us again to make sure it's still.
Well,
okay,
yeah,
something.
I mean, if it's been an extended period of time, we have had people come back
I thought so.
just to make another presentation.
If for no
Oh,
other
you're right.
reason, is that we turn over so much. This committee
I
won't
know.
look the same, and the next group may know more than we do, whatever.
Or
And
they may
apropos of that, our membership list on the website is out of date.
wrong.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
always, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I like
So-
people knowing I'm not the chair.
But on the other hand, you know, the other thing we don't want to have happen is for, if there's a new group of members, they can't, you know, re-review what has been approved. I mean, that's not quite fair. So,
Right.
anyway, but we've managed pretty well, I think.
Yeah, no, I just, it came across it, so I figured it was worth.
I think it's a good thing, yeah. Now, building permit does expire after 2 years, so you
Yeah.
can't get, you can't file if it's after.
My New York Times subscription expires.
Yeah. Oh, did anybody see the Witch's Crook? Did you read that?
Didn't read. I saw that you sent it. I haven't
Oh,
It
read it.
came with the minutes. It was just a kind of a fun thing. So
I
when you
didn't-
get a yeah, because I was kind of intrigued by it. And I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
a chimney deal.
Oh, okay.
Want me to say it, what it is?
Yes.
I thought Justin would really be
Oh,
excited
no,
about
this
this.
looks right up my alley, but
It
I'm
is
listening
right
to
up
you
your
saying
alley.
it.
Apparently, chimneys used to be constructed so that they took some kind of a turn because witches can only get in straight down.
It's a well-known fact about witches.
That's right.
Wish we had known
exactly.
that at Halloween, right?
Yeah.
I know. So if they put a crook in it, then the witch can't get in.
Is that why those windows on the angle like that are called witches' windows? You know,
I don't know. I don't know. That could
I'm going to
be.
say yes. Now, have you heard the expression by hook or by crook?
Yes.
Do you
What
know
does that
what
mean?
that's from?
Yeah.
Captain
This
Hook.
this is your alternatives for invading Ireland.
Oh,
If there's a peninsula, you know, where if you're coming into Ireland to invade it from sea, you can either go one way by hook or the other way by crook.
Crook.
And that's by hook or
Oh.
by crook, your alternatives to
Well,
invading.
what's the hook and what's the crook? They're just different.
These are the city
rivers?
of Hook and the city of Crook.
Oh, oh,
something.
oh.
That's
my
very
God.
funny.
Yes.
Who knew?
So
Oh,
I'm
also-
gonna move to adjourn.
Well,
No,
now I'm
wait,
gonna
I-
answer Catherine's question though. Which windows are predominantly only used in Vermont? And that's where they came out of. But yes, it was the folk belief that witches cannot fly their broomsticks through tilted windows.
There you go, Catherine.
So,
I
There
do
you
spend
go.
a lot of time in Vermont, so I know all about those windows.
so, motion to adjourn.
Second.
I need a first.
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry,
move
I
to
have
adjourn.
one fun
Oh.
fact.
No, no.
This is important.
Yeah.
All right, the Temptations,
My
Um,
girl.
yeah.
The
earned their
singing
fourth-
group?
Yeah, the
Talking back.
Temptations,
My
on December, this took place on December the 2nd. The Temptations earned their fourth chart-topping hit with Papa Was a Rolling Stone in 1972.
Right.
Well,
But
now,
it is
the
a-
Rolling
it's
Great to
Stones-
important.
mark my calendar,
you're-
right?
If you grew up in the Motor City like I did, and you have a diary and a watch from Shinola, you appreciate these things.
That was 1972 was also when the Rolling Stones first toured the United States, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And was the first use of the Lips logo.
No kidding.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, that
Wow.
predates me by 15 years, so we'll take a motion.
Oh, you baby, you baby.
Okay.
Anybody?
Aye.
No, I need a
Oh, you have
motion.
to
I
make
haven't
the
gotten a
motion,
motion.
Karen.
Oh, I
yet.
thought we had a motion from
No, all I
Justin.
got was a second.
I thought he, oh, I make a motion.
The motion seconded.
I can't make the motion. I was
I
asking.
move
for
we
it.
adjourn.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
Aye.
Catherine, how do you vote?
Third, aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
All right.
Dinner's burning.
Aye.
Justin, aye for me.
Aye.
And aye for
Lovely
you.
holiday, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Happy holidays. Thanks,
Happy
Jamie.
holidays. Good
Thanks to you
evening.
all.
Happy holidays.
And thank you, everybody. You're so
Yeah.
good.
Aye.
Night, everybody.